So the first big change on the second sample here was the fabric. The fabric used on this first one, which is the one I'm wearing, was way too expensive. Way too expensive. And the main reason for that was because this fabric was coming from a different country that my manufacturer's factory is located, which means that there was a lot of shipping costs and customs costs and handling costs that just made the price per yard of the fabric get to a ridiculous point. I think at the end, oh man, I haven't looked at the numbers in a minute. In total, I think I was paying just under $50 for the fabric of the hoodie. That's crazy. Anyway, because of that, me and my manufacturer sourced this other fabric, which has very similar specs. This was 536 GSM, 100% French terry cotton. This is 530 GSM, 100% French terry cotton. However, the construction of the two are very different. Well, I say very different. It's still a cotton hoodie. But if you look closely on the inside and outside, you could just see that the inside of this is a little bit more smooth. Same with the outside, and it looks like things are just tighter together. That's the best way I could say it. Whereas with this fabric, things almost look a little more loose. And I actually think the way this looks, for what this hoodie is, looks better on body, if that makes sense. Now, the one annoying part about the new fabric, it's not really annoying. It has to happen, but this wasn't pre-shrunk when the sample was made, which I could say was intentional on my part because I wanted to test the shrink rate. Really, it was an accident. I just forgot to double check, be like, hey, are we pre-shrinking this one? I just forgot to ask. Anyway, it came to me not being pre-shrunken. I washed it in the wash as someone would normally wash a hoodie, and it shrunk a lot. But sometimes with fabrics, you can get away with not pre-shrinking them. For example, this fabric wasn't pre-shrunk. I washed it in the wash, and I actually shrunk it to a point where it made the fit better. That didn't happen on this one. It shrunk it to a point where it was a totally different size. And the solution to that is very simple. Just get the fabric pre-shrunk. However, that just adds a bit more time because now, just to make sure I'm getting a yard pre-shrunk, getting that pre-shrunk yard sent to me, testing it in the wash, it just adds a little bit more time, and I was hoping to get production started by now. And then the other big change from the first sample was the graphic change, which I so kindly put up these pictures so you could see. We have the old one. We have the new one. The only thing that's different between the two is these little hash marks in the bottom right here, which actually, I'm going to share my secret how I did this because I didn't draw these. I had an artist draw these. I can't draw. I can't bake cakes. I have a hard time playing an A minor chord on the piano. I'm really bad at first-person shooter games. Like embarrassingly bad. Anyway, those are just a few things I can't do. Which is why I'm so impressed that I was able to do this. Anyway, there's another old one that should probably be added on top of this, which was the original artwork. And in that original artwork, there is hash marks in the bottom here. Basically what I did is I just cut and pasted the original ones and just took an eraser tool and changed them up a little bit and then just kind of dragged them in there, which extended the image down a little bit. And I'll explain why I did that in a second. But originally, I thought this was a perfect square design. It wasn't. This one's legitimately, well, it's very close to a perfect square. The actual size on the second sample is, I believe, exactly 15 inches wide and then 15.2 inches tall. So it's slightly taller than it is wide. And the reason for that is because on the first sample, the design almost looks, it just looks awkward on it. I think because it's slightly wider than it is tall, and the back of the hoodie is structured basically like a stood up rectangle. It just looks funky. With the updated one, because it's more square, I think it sits nicer on the back and looks more like it belongs. Also, I moved the new design down 1 inch from where it starts on the first sample. So it fills up the bottom space a little bit more, takes the design out from the hood a little bit more. And I just think looks way cleaner, and I'm very happy with those minor changes. Do I have anything more to say? Oh yeah, I do have something. Also, this is a huge thing. So the first sample, the graphic was done in a DTG print, which means direct to garment. And when I got it in, I was happy with the way the back looked. However, there was the other option to do a heat transfer print. I had that done that way on the second sample just to compare the two, even though I was pretty happy with the DTG print. It's it can't hurt to see both. I saw both. The DTG print looks way better. It's a little bit more subtle, but I just think blends into the hoodie way better, blends into the cotton fabric way better. Whereas the heat transfer, like I said, just kind of looks like a sticker that's put on. And also, I put that hoodie through one wash, and you can already start to see cracking. Which, I mean, it's kind of expected because heat transfer is typically less quality, and that can happen too. But I just wanted to see how that pop looked, because it's definitely a lot louder than the DTG print, but I like the subtlety. I like the DTG print quality is better because it's like ink that's on the hoodie. So I'm going with the DTG print. And then the final change that was made was the Chadman logo embroidery was moved in 3/4 of an inch. That's so it doesn't sit on the shoulder as much and more so sits on the breast, which it was supposed to. Honestly, it's barely a noticeable change, but for my own peace of mind, I needed to move it in that 3/4 of an inch. And if you've been following me making clothes for a little while now, you will recognize this piece of hardware, this beautiful piece of machinery, my very own embroidery machine, which I so humbly used to make the orange juice hoodie. No, but actually the reason why I chose to sit here, because the question could be asked, why don't you just embroider it yourself? And there are a few reasons. One being I'd be less accurate with the placement. Two being this machine's like an older machine, and the machinery that's being used to embroider this it's just newer, it's better. It's just a better quality embroidery. And granted, the quality, like, I'll put it to you this way. Quality in screen printing you could have like a print that's down here, and then you could have a print all the way up here, which is like a screen print or like a good quality DTG. With embroidery, it's tough to have like a bad quality embroidery. This doesn't make bad embroideries, but my manufacturer can make embroideries just like that much better. Also, it saves me a lot of time. All of that information doesn't really matter when it comes to this piece of information that I'm going to try and give you, which is the timeline for release. This is going to be my best guess. Truthfully, I can't give exacts. Right now, I'm waiting on the pre-shrink fabric to come in. I sent out an email before I started recording this to get a time frame on that. I've yet to get a response. It's okay. I'm hoping to get that in about a week and a half. Production takes 3 to 5 weeks. It could go quick, it could go slow. The reason being, for my manufacturer, I'm sure I'm one of their smaller clients doing a smaller production run. So I could just get in the queue nice and quick, and the production could get done really quick. But then there's the other option where I am one of the smaller ones. My production could just be sat on, so they can get through like bigger productions, and then when they have time, they'll just do mine quickly, which means I could be sitting for 4 weeks, and then they could just bang it out in a few days. So that's another option that could happen. And then I'm planning on having them shipped by air, which should take a week and a half. And then hopefully when I get them in hand, it'll take me a week and a half to get everything prepped, to get pictures ready, to get the website set up for release. Optimistically, end of February, maybe more realistically, early mid-March.